Hi, in today's video, we'll be studying lists in Python and we'll be covering what are lists as well as with the help of Python code, we'll be learning characteristics of a list, subsetting a list, indexing it and modifying it, which comprises of changing the elements as well as adding and deleting the elements from a list. So, let's go! To understand lists, let's consider an example. Suppose you have to go for grocery shopping. You have to buy milk, bread and butter. That's why you prepare a list of items to buy. Now that's what similarly lists are in Python. They are a collection of elements. However, it's not necessary that in a list in Python that you need to have same variable types. One single list can have numbers as well as strings as well as booleans. There is one speciality of lists, that is, the elements are ordered. Let's consider our grocery example again. Suppose you have to buy milk, bread and butter. However, you have to buy them in the exact same order. That is, firstly you have to buy milk, then bread and then butter. So, lists are also ordered. That is, the position of the elements are key. So, lists are ordered collection of elements which can have multiple variable types. Let's start with creating a list of numbers. Let me call it scores and I want multiple numbers. So let's say 10, 20, 30. However, the thing to notice about lists is lists should always start and end with square brackets. So over here to create a list of 3 elements, which is 10, 20 and 30, I am using square brackets to denote that it is a list. And let me print the list. It is returning 3 elements. Python gives us the flexibility that a list can contain multiple data types. Let's say if I write let my list is equals to A 10 B 20, then will it throw an error? No. Python gives us this flexibility that various data types like string, boolean or numeric values, they can be combined together in a list. You know, a list can actually contain multiple lists. So let's create another list which is here is a combination of 2 lists. So let's say my first list is 10, 20 and my second list is A, B. And to enclose it, we are using these square brackets. So it's actually a list of lists. Now let's talk about subsetting a list. For this, let's use our initial list which is scores 10, 20, 30. Suppose we want to retrieve the first element. Now we need to remember in Python the counting doesn't start from 1. In fact, it starts from 0. So for which we will write square bracket 0 and it has returned the first element which is 10. Similarly, I can write square bracket 1 and over here it has returned me the second element. To retrieve the last element, we write it as -1. So it will give us the last element of the list. Similarly, to retrieve second last element, we will write -2. What about if we want to retrieve multiple elements? Let's assume that our objective is retrieving the first 2 numbers. So for which we will write scores colon 2. It will return me all the numbers from the starting till the second index. Second index in human language means third position. However, let's say in Python, the second index is 30, right? 0, 1 and 2. So it will exclude 30, it will return all the values before the second index, which is 10 and 20. Now, what about if we want all the values, but starting from first index till the end, for which we will write scores square bracket 1 colon. It means start from first index and go towards the end. Let's talk about indexing a list. Suppose if I write scores dot index bracket 10, it returns me 0. Index function actually returns the position of the element. Similarly, if I write scores dot index bracket 30, it will return us 2 because 30 is at position number 2. Let's write scores index 40 because we know 40 is not in our list. So that's why it has returned a value error, that is 40 is not in list. Now we'll discuss about changing the elements. A list in Python can be altered. Currently my list looks like scores, and which is 10, 20 and 30. Suppose if I want to edit the first position element, which is instead of 20, if I want 100, so if I will write it as scores square bracket 1 and I'll assign the value 100 to it. Now if I print scores, see it's now 10, 100 and 30. Let us try adding some elements to the list. Suppose in my list I want to add two more elements, let's say 50 and 60. I will write it as scores plus, now I'll create another list which is 50, 60, and we will see that currently it's now looks like 10, 100, 30, which is my scores list, and here it is 50 and 60 included. To save this in scores, we will write scores equal to same thing. And now if I print scores, my list is now updated. Similarly, if we want to add one value at a time, we can also use the dot append method, which is scores dot append 70. Then it would automatically add it to scores. So now we have another element called 70 added for it. And notice we don't need to write scores is equals to scores dot append when we are using the dot append method. Next, let's try to remove some values. We can do so by using the dot remove function. Let me try to write scores dot remove 100. Now if I rewrite my scores, see 100 is no longer there. We can also use a pop function which deletes an element based on the position you specify. Let me write it as scores dot pop 0. So it will remove the 0th element from this list, which is 10. So now it tells me that score.pop has removed 10. Now if I relook at my scores, see 10 is no longer here. Now let's discuss about sorting a list. Using the sort command, we can sort the elements of a list. Let's write it, although my list is currently sorted, let me create a different list. So let me have some jumbled numbers. And now if I write list.sort, and if I now print the list, we will see the elements have been sorted. Similarly, we can also sort our list in descending order. Let's write list.sort reverse equal to true, and if I again have a look at our list, now see the elements are sorted in descending order. Using count function, we can also count how many times an element is repeated in a list. For this, let's create another list. Here I am writing 10, 10, 10, 20, 20, 30. And if I write list.count 10, it has given me 3 because 10 is repeated 3 times. So that was all about lists in Python. If this video was useful to you, do let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It will keep us motivated. Until then, see you soon.